Oh, this is an hour long. We're okay with an hour, right? Let me move myself. It's another Rapaholics. Rapaholics video. Oh my god, I was running. Anyways. Alright guys. This is more I think that he released another video. But we're just gonna watch this one because it was from 2 days ago. And yeah, same guy, Rapaholics. Yippee! I fucking love this. I'm gonna get sad again. Let me tell you, I was so sad when I ended stream after we were like reacting to this. I was so sad. I was so sad. This whole case makes me sad. Let me know if audio's good. As always, guys, just let me know.
Robbery homicide detectives determined that Celeste Rivas Hernandez. LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined that Celeste Rivas Hernandez and David met in January 2022 when Celeste was just 11. They began an S relationship in November of 2023 when Celeste was just 13 and David was 18. Detectives have learned that Celeste would run away from home multiple times as her family reported her missing in February and April of 2024. And as we now know, prosecutors believe David took Celeste's life in April of 2020.
Okay, I don't know if you guys, I think it was brought up in the last one, but remember, he bought 2 chainsaws. Just saying. He bought 2 chainsaws, and what is the point of the second chainsaw if someone wasn't helping him? Get that? He must have had help. He had to have had help.
5. But what if I told you that the signs that this situation was headed in a very dangerous direction had been apparent for years before Celeste actually lost her life? All throughout David's life, clues may have been left this entire time. Starting with the fact that, like I mentioned, detectives now believe Celeste had met David when she was 11 in January of 2022. They allegedly met via Discord while playing video games like Fortnite, and there are people online who claim to have been in the same game rooms as David and Celeste, and their timelines are nearly identical to the ones that prosecutors displayed in court.
Sorry.
So before David was David, he used to go by the name Chronic Ant.
24 hours in the woods with Chronic Ant.
Chronic Ant was a really good Fortnite player.
Oh wait. Hey.
Oh,
Celeste was
so you had a
first
different alias?
identified. I had came across some comments that said that they knew David. They used to play the game with him, and he used to always had his girl around. Looking back on everything now, they 100% think that that was Celeste.
This sickens me, dude. I was in a zone wars with both of them, and thought the little girl in the lobby was someone's sister on the game. I always had a weird feeling about him. I didn't even know he was David.
I'm trying to find a clip of me, Celeste, and David in a call. I knew I should have said something, bro. I thought he was just being normal. We were queuing up in Fortnite with random people, then we queued up with Celeste. At first, it was normal. Like 3 months go by, and I notice it's getting weird. Like, how does he know her entire story? I'm thinking he's just being nice to this kid like a brother. It got weirder every time we would play together. Eventually, he did his own thing.
I was in a lobby while she was there, and that was only one time. I assumed it was someone's sister. Thinking of everything makes more sense now.
Do you remember anything weird about the conversation? Do you remember her username?
I don't remember her username, but there wasn't any weird vibes. We were
What
playing
the
Zone Wars, and
fuck?
she'd just make little comments like everyone while playing. But Ant would joke about SA all the time, and other weird things like severe dark humor, and everyone that's played with him can confirm.
What year and month was this, if you can remember?
January, February 2020, or can be 2021, because it was before I stopped playing, and I stopped playing around then.
And you're sure it was her?
100%. Couldn't have been anyone else.
Yo, I'm watching the live right now, but I just want to say this because me and my friend are trying to recall everything. We were all in a Fortnite team called Chronic, which is where I met him. He met her in like 2021 through Fortnite, I'm pretty sure. And then he made her get Discord. Everyone in the team knew about her, and he would joke about it and brush it off every time it got mentioned. That's all I
What the
personally
fuck?
know, but my friend Pistol knows more because they talked way more. She would literally say he her, but then follow it up with a joke. So I don't know if she was being for real or not. He was also just a weirdo, to be honest. He used to send in group chats.
If everything that they allege was true, David was 15 years old and Celeste was 10.
Now, tracing back the steps to David's life, we can get a clear picture as to how he even got in the situation where he's interacting with children 5 years younger than him online.
What's this? I just got home. What we watching? We're watching another part of Rapaholic's video. He released another video about the situation.
From an early age, there weren't many activities or hobbies in the real world that resonated with David. His parents definitely tried to get him into music at an early age, but nothing stuck. He would pursue a new form of music all throughout his early years as a kid, but would quickly quit each one.
She put me into piano lessons when I was 7, and then I quit that after a week. She was like, okay, I'm not gonna pay for it if you don't like it. Quit that. I went into she put me in a church choir when I was 8. Quit that, and then I was in middle school band when I was in 7th grade.
Now, before we go any further in the video, I gotta give a shout out to the YouTube channel J Wisdom. I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video to his video where he psychologically assesses David's character based off his upbringing and tries to distinguish whether David's behavior was a case of nature versus nurture just based solely off the facts. It was a really eye-opening video that inspired me to dig further into David's upbringing, so a lot of the interview clips that you'll see earlier on in this video will have actually come from his video. But later on here, we're going to look deeper into how David's childhood ended up actually leading him to meet Celeste.
What the fuck?
Aside from understanding that nothing really stuck with David on a musical level when he was a child.
I don't know if you guys seen that music video, but it's very creepy. It's dark. It's so dark. I don't know. Like I don't know.
Also know that for a decent chunk of David's key developmental years, he was actually isolated in a homeschool program.
Transitioning from public school to homeschool is tragic. The first 2 years was tragic.
Tragic?
I was asking to go back to school almost every day. My brother too.
Was the decision to move from public schooling to homeschooling a difficult one?
It was, and it wasn't mine, it was my parents.
So there's 2 different types of homeschooling in America. There's like group homeschooling, where it's parents that don't want their kids to be in public school environments, but they still want them to be in social groups. So they have you have homeschool kids that meet once a week at a specific place, and they play like extracurricular activities like basketball and stuff like that, so they can socialize, and they do the work on paper. And then there's a second homeschooling where it's just strictly on computer. That's what I did.
Now, to be clear, obviously
Yeah.
homeschooling in and of itself does not cause harmful or violent tendencies and behavior. Many homeschool kids are healthy, social, and later well-adjusted within society. But in David's case, with the isolation that his particular situation brought forth...
Okay. I have to say this because I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want, if I ever have kids, I would like to homeschool them, mainly because of I don't know. I'm deathly afraid of either losing a partner or a child, because I've been one to witness it in both sides, a partner and a child. So it's like I've witnessed how that path could go, and it's very, very heartbreaking. So for me, I would love to have my kids homeschooled, not gonna lie, especially because there ain't crazy gun reform, and how are we having so many school shootings? But yet we want to be in a war, right? But we don't want to prioritize the kids. That's why we still have the Epstein file stuff going on, right? Because we don't want to protect kids. So, and by we, I mean our government in the great USA. So that's just me. I'm very paranoid. I don't know, seeing how many kids have died from school shootings is very, very heartbreaking. And I don't think I could ever do that. I'd be too paranoid as a parent. I'm in general a paranoid person. And I would be so fucking scared to send my kid. But I agree, with what he said here. Or I think that could really harm a child's development from going from regular schooling and just jump straight into homeschooling. I feel like that could really stunt a child, in my opinion. So for me, I would still include like the other part of homeschooling is the group activities. So yeah, I was homeschooled. I'm fine. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people need that social kind of stuff. Like you need to be social. You need to be around people so you don't get shit like this dude. Like, but I also feel like if you're raised to do that, it could be different. So it depends. I feel like it very much depends. Ooh, I just recognized him. Yes, this is David. 65 stream streak. Thank you, miss.
The first red flag should have been
balance like
the
always.
lack of
Yes.
consistent social connection, extracurricular activities, and no real.
But obviously, like any parent's intentions with homeschooling is definitely not having something like this happen. You know,
life peer-to-peer.
So this is just a very tragic thing.
At the very least,
let me also reiterate that I'm not saying that that's always the case, but there are some cases that some kids do need more of that social aspect of the schooling, because yeah, it can make them awkward. It can make them less sociable and lead into scary shit like this. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
This is what likely led David spending more time in online spaces that soon in this video you'll see became very unhealthy and inappropriate for someone
miss, that's a balance.
of his age. And the deranged online activity that David would later pursue could have been a rebellion.
That's another thing. Chronically online. That's not fucking good for you. I'm sorry.
Response to the sheltered upbringing he was faced with. Before the homeschooling, at least by the way that David described it in interviews, it seems like his parents had a pretty intense control over the content and music that he would consume.
Everything we played in the house, music-wise, was just Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, gospel music, like classical stuff. Instrumentals only. Like, we didn't listen to any other music. There was no like Lady Gaga and all the popular artists everybody was listening to. We never could listen to that because my parents just wouldn't let us. It was just like straight classical stuff.
There's literally nothing. It was all gospel and like classical, Mozart, Bach, like all that kind of stuff. Because my parents wanted me to be really smart. They never like talked about college or anything like that, but they always wanted me to be very intellectual, very put together, have an idea what I'm doing, but they never like listened to music like that at all.
In response to this, David states that he would later sneak around with an iPod Touch, where he'd be able to download more modern music that kids his age were listening to.
Did your parents put sort of a cap on what you could and couldn't listen to in the house?
I was sneaking
it wasn't
around.
like that.
I had this little iPod. I used to sneak. I got it with me right now too. I still got these. I used to sneak around with the iPod Touch. I used to sneak around with the iPod Touch and download things off iTunes and stuff like that.
Now, what I find interesting is the fact that David's parents seem to be...
A lot of, like, parents are like, oh, play classical music around your child. They'll make them smarter. I think it's also actually referenced in, what is that one show? It's a movie. What is that superhero movie with the family? The Invincibles? The Invincibles? No, that doesn't... Fuck! What is that movie? I don't know. It's that family superhero with the baby Jack. I can't remember. No, not Fantastic. Yo, Incredibles. There you go. Invincibles. The Incredibles. The babysitter did that with the baby. I was struggling. Leave me alone.
Strict in
V,
terms
don't
of
say
the
nothing.
music he would consume at an early age, but
Don't
a couple
say
years
nothing.
later, you'll see shortly in this video, he would seem to have free reins to explore whatever he wanted in the darkest corners of the internet. And while David's parents were unsuccessful at getting him to music-related extracurricular activities at an early age, David himself would initially end up gravitating towards music-adjacent art forms, you could say, stuff like poetry. And he also early on became enthralled with video games and anime, but pay attention to what exactly stood out to him and what he liked about anime in particular.
Yeah, ever since I was young, I really just liked anime, gaming, and poetry. That's it. I remember reading my first manga when I was in 5th grade. Dragon Ball, Tokyo Ghoul, and see these fantasy characters with powers and all that. That weren't superheroes. And that inspired me to start writing and write my own stories about them.
So he liked how these characters, they had power, but they weren't necessarily heroes. They weren't doing good in these stories.
You
And
know what's
consuming
crazy?
anime-
That he was with Pokemon and fucking Jason. Like, you gotta, I don't know.
actually
I
inspired
wonder how they
David
feel
to
about
write
it.
fictional stories of his own. Now, before he was homeschooled, David was actually in public school, and he recalls observing his classmates, analyzing their characteristics, and creating stories where the characters were actually based off real people in his school that he was observing.
At school, before I was homeschooled, like middle school, elementary, I would look at these kids, like at cafeteria. At lunch was like my playground, like my brain's playground. Like there's so many different kids and they're all doing something different. I would just sit there and I'm a people watcher. I would just inspect them and like write about them and stuff like that. And I kind of brought these characters to life that were inspired by my classmates. So every time I would write like a short story, I'd have these different classmates in these stories and they would never know. It's like different names and everything, but they were inspired by my classmates.
So you can see from an early age, David almost treated people more like a case to study and observe, or even control, instead of treating them like equals that he was supposed to emotionally connect with. And it's possible that this was due to the way that David was treated early on. David in interviews claims that from an early age he was actually bullied before he eventually started getting homeschooled.
Oh.
I hated New York at that point. Like,
Why did you
I didn't
hate
like
it?
my school. I was at a
'Cause you
private
see-
school, and they treated me so horribly, dude.
Why?
It was insane. I don't know. All the teachers had it out for me. My little brother could testify to that too. Dude, they just had it out for me all the time. I don't know what it was. I would just do nothing to nobody, and the teachers would just pick on me and bully me for no reason, bro. I wanted to leave that place so bad.
David's family
the
would
hell?
eventually move from New York to Houston, where he would begin to have a better social life at school. But like I mentioned before, that would quickly come to a halt when his parents would decide to have David put in a homeschooled program. And this was an eye-opening period in David's life, because all the friends that he felt like he had at this new school suddenly stopped talking to him once he left.
I thought I had
Oh.
a lot of friends in middle school. And then after being homeschooled, nobody's hitting me up. Nobody's asking me, like, where am I at? Why am I not coming to school today? It made me question, like, what is a real friend? And do I have any of those as well?
Especially when I was transitioning from public school to homeschooling and nobody like hit me up on Snapchat when I was like streaking everybody. My Snap score was like 250,000, bro.
And nobody hits you back?
Nobody, dude.
What the
That's what I'm saying. Like nobody, like, who, you not at school? Where'd you go, Dave? Like nobody. Like, dude, did I really have friends? And you start to question things.
Oh,
like,
totally.
About your everyday life. It's like who's really there for you at the end?
That you
I
can
mean, dude,
s-
homeschooling
yeah,
really takes a
that's-
toll on a kid. Like,
Isolation.
yeah, and there's outlets like I know I made a couple friends now that were homeschooled, but they had like these groups that they would go to. Like,
The fact that he was in like a private school and being bullied, not only by I'm assuming students and teachers. I don't know about the students part. He just said the teachers. And then he finally finds a place where he could get friends, and he made friends from what it sounds like. And then to get taken out of that environment, yeah, that could definitely fuck someone up.
bi-weekly and just to socialize, but I didn't have that.
Now, as you saw there, David mentioned that
Yes, he
frequently
was
used-
in a private school. I'll be damned if my kid gets bullied in a fucking private school and I'm paying for that shit, by the way. Like, huh? Yes, in New York, he was in a private school, he said. And the teachers were giving him shit, apparently. So, but like to go from that experience being lonely and then to finally getting friends and then to go back to being lonely, that is a
Snapchat.
That's a
Throughout
choice
his
on the
teenage
parents.
years, he's watching his previous school peers experience what it's like being a normal teenager.
Yep.
Falling in love,
Mhm.
having relationships, going to school, hanging out with friends. Meanwhile, David's on the sidelines, feeling forgotten, feeling abandoned, and not having the opportunity to build new social connections and make new friends. And David would later make it very obvious that this was a major dark hole within his life. He would constantly post on TikTok about the effects that being homeschooled had on him during those teenage years. Not being able to experience any school dances, not being able to properly express his feelings, having no social life for
Even the
5 years.
crazy part, like up here above me, homeschool and being on social media 24/7 was not a good idea, I'm assuming. Yeah, I can wholeheartedly agree with that because he became chronically online. And like anything, you have to have a balance in your life. You cannot do that shit. Like being chronically online, those people like genuinely scare me. I'm sorry because you have so much time to dedicate to being online. Like, dude, I don't even fucking know. Like, you have so much time to dedicate online, and there's so much crazy shit that you could find online too. Like, dude, I remember when Facebook was very much not heavily like fucking like modded pretty much, and so much shit got on to Facebook. Like, I ran into some crazy ass videos on Facebook at the early stages, and that is insane. And I was forever traumatized from seeing that. Like, it was a gore video, and there is still gore videos to this day. It's a little bit harder to like come across, but if you're building your own algorithm, and you are most likely gonna find it if you, yeah.
We also have to remember that this is all
I blew
what
his
David
face off of on Facebook Live, and it stayed up until someone finally called. That's scary. Oh my god, dude! The ones that I hate, and I randomly come across, is the workshop ones on Twitter. Like, it'll be a workshop video, and it's a horrible accident. Like, it's like big machinery, and like there's one that's like it was spinning really fast, and they got caught in it, and yeah, it was so awful. Oh yeah, it's yep.
is saying. This is
It's
all
sad.
how he's
It's scary.
recounting his own story. And you'll see later in this video, if you haven't already, he has a strong habit of portraying real human beings as characters in these fantasy worlds. So before we jump to
Yes, it is the lathe accident. Oh, I hated it. Ew, MySpace was worse. I was not fully on MySpace that much.
any conclusions on how
You're
this
dating
supposed
yourself, V.
homeschooled isolation could have
Just saying.
affected David, don't toss it out of the realm of possibilities that, just like the stories he was writing about his classmates on the playground, he may have been overly romanticizing or creating fiction around his own life and his own upbringing as well.
Yeah.
But one thing that David said about being homeschooled that is definitely true is that homeschooling and being on social media 24/7 is not a good mix.
Oh, it's a
especially being
mixed idea.
homeschooled, not having a social life, right? So I'm on the game, I'm talking to all these random people, and they're talking to me about their life problems, you know, using video games to escape the real world as much as I am, and then living my life vicariously through them, and like writing songs about their lives.
I would go on Discord and I would go on Fortnite and I would go on like squad fills and I just let people talk to me and just tell me about their lives. Cause like most of these people that play video games the same way I do, they're going to it as an escape. So I was just being an open door and an open outlet for like my peers and my friends to kind of just like vent to me about different things in their like personal lives and stuff like that.
And I'm like 15, 14 at this time, so I don't know how to like be a therapist, right? But it's like I'm taking this information and all these different people talking to me about this.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm assuming he's talked to a wide range of people, and I'm assuming there has been maybe an adult who has dropped a lot of stuff. But I will say, as someone who has also had an adult come to me as a teenager with adult issues and adult problems, it is very exhausting for a 15-year-old. I've had the same thing happen to me, and it genuinely stressed me out. Whereas with him, it was more like, well, for me, mine was in the family. So it was a lot more stressful for me. But with him, he was able to kind of have that kind of boundary there as well. So I could see that, but I think that's too much to drop on a kid, even if he's able to have a boundary like that where he doesn't have like an emotional connection. So it's weird. I honestly, guys, if you're an adult, please do not vent to anybody who's younger. Like I don't know. Like me personally, I've experienced that. Someone in my family, grown ass person coming to me about grown ass adult things to a 15-year-old. No. It's not good. It's not good.
Different like problems and situations.
Just don't do it.
Wow, this is really what humans are like. Like these are humans.
Like if you need to talk to someone, go get a therapist. If you're an adult, please be an adult.
So as you can see, David in these key years was not building connections with other human beings in the traditional manner. While most kids are experiencing real human connection in
that was
the
a little bit of a
physical form,
tangent, I'm sorry.
David began getting closest to people who only existed to him behind a computer screen, adopting a parasocial relationship where he listened to their stories from an observational standpoint, building worlds in his own head out of their lived experiences, rather than building his own world with lived experiences that were shared with other humans. His entire life took place behind a computer screen. The connections he built, the activities he became passionate about, all of his interests were online.
I played Fortnite from 2017 to 2021. The game came out in 2017. I was one of the first people to ever play the game. My goal on Fortnite.
First person? How?
I had like this small group of friends that would literally spend 8 hours a day looking for the newest games that were released on PlayStation.
Okay.
And I was playing Fortnite Season 1, like had all the passes, everything.
Okay.
So I played that game. I became a YouTuber. I was playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, all these different type of games.
The hell?
Just had to become like the biggest next thing, streamer, Kai Cenat, everything.
Did anyone care?
No.
Okay.
200 views my first video.
What? That's
and
a
then
lot.
A steady 60 after.
While David's main online interest was video games, Fortnite in particular, this obviously being the medium where many people believe he met Celeste through when she was just 11 years old, his internet activity would take much darker turns as he got older. And if nothing yet in this video was alarming to you, this most definitely should be. This is a message from David in his own Discord group where he admits to watching gore to quote-unquote disconnect the part of his brain that feels empathy to the wrong things. For the sake of censorship on this platform, in very simple terms, you can kind of think of gore as graphic, violent content to the highest degree possible. And what David's basically saying here is that he watches these type of horrifying videos to numb himself emotionally because he feels like he feels overly sympathetic or has too much emotional concern for the quote-unquote wrong things. And he says it's gotten to a point where he laughs at this violent content. Got to a point where he doesn't even cringe when he sees it. It all started when he was just...
I'm sorry, but I would hope everybody... I would hope everybody knows that it's okay to have emotions. And if your emotions feel like a lot, that is totally okay. Obviously, you're in your right. Like, it's okay to feel, okay? I don't understand why, like, holy shit, male or woman, I don't care. Have emotions, dude. It's okay. Sympathy is in our nature. We are social creatures. We are supposed to feel sympathy for other people. We are supposed to be empathetic for people. We are social creatures. We are not supposed to not feel shit. Like, holy fuck. That's a good K-drama, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's good.
And stumbled across a cartel execution video on Reddit. Remember, this was, as David describes it himself, an isolated child with too much time on his hands, not enough friends or social connections, and free reign access to the internet. The only thing I could think of to answer that previous question as to why his parents controlled the music he listened to but not the content he consumed online
then he says he loves
is because it's very possible they didn't fully understand the magnitude of vulgarity, violence, depravity that can be found on the internet. And because of that, they may have thought it was just a harmless tool that David used to educate himself in his homeschooling program, or make friends in his spare time, or develop new interests and hobbies like video games. I don't assume that his parents would have ever thought that, as David put it in these Discord messages, he would become addicted to watching gore videos. And about 2 to 3 years after David discovered this cartel execution, which led him down a rabbit hole of graphic content, he would begin to form a friendship with a then 11-year-old Celeste. Even Celeste's old school teacher recounts this timeline pretty accurately, emphasizing that she met the singer in the same place David met most of his friends at the time: social media.
That's her in my classroom in front of this poster right here. I got a picture on TMZ of this other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper who we alleged did this stuff. He's also in my classroom.
Wait, how long ago was this?
We all just found out yesterday who it was, but
that is
she's been
crazy.
missing since I taught her. So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was
W teacher for like making it
brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again.
Like
in May,
making it a conversation in class.
That's when her friends told me what happened, that it was this rapper, that they were like blackmailing him, all of this stuff. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car. You want to know how they met? Social media.
Around the time that David met Celeste online, he also created an alter ego for himself. A new character by the name of Atami, which means pain in Japanese. Remember that during his brief time attending private school, David would create characters out of the different students in his class. And by the time he was homeschooled, he would listen to the life stories of people that he met online and live vicariously through them. Now he was seemingly segmenting different aspects of his personalities into characters of their own. And once he developed his career in music, he would actually use these different characters in the visuals of his music videos.
I have this alter ego named Atami, which means pain in Japanese, and I'm heavily inspired by like anime and stuff like that. But that character that's in the music videos I make now was actually an idea that I had years before music even started, when I was writing my first comic book. And it was this detective that would solve his own crime. So he was the good guy by day, and then at night he'd kind of transform into this alter ego and then commit crimes he'd solved the morning of.
But Atami isn't this artistic, creative concept he's come up with. David described it in multiple interviews as a character he intended to develop into his own manga, one who was explicitly him, a detective who committed murders and then investigated them himself.
Big part of that manga was an evil version of me, an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego, and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden, and he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself.
Understand that there's a difference between normal fantasy and what David's doing. We all might fantasize here and there, maybe about obtaining a certain level of wealth or driving a certain car. Escapist fantasy uses fictional scenarios to temporarily relieve stress and provide alternative experience. The psychological concept of fantasy elaboration, however, involves constructing increasingly detailed, immersive internal worlds in which the individual places themselves, not a character, but themselves, and which begin to function as a parallel framework for understanding identity and relationships. David explicitly inserted himself into this narrative. He is not the author of Atami. He's Atami's counterpart. They share an existence. He later described Atami as
the one that is weaving his way into my relationships and ruining them and inducing trauma and things like that.
This language suggests that the alter ego had become a psychological container for the parts of himself he wished to disown, but had not eliminated.
Now, the irony in all this is that, as harmful as David may have self-admittedly thought that being isolated in homeschool and spending all this time on social media could have been. It was actually the reason for his career in music taking off in the first place. He started making money online by just uploading his Fortnite montages onto YouTube, but he would overlay his gameplay with music that was owned by major record labels, so they would hit him with copyright strikes, and being unable to actually profit off of these videos, his mom would suggest that maybe he should start making music of his own and add that on top of his gameplay videos. So that's exactly what he would do.
How old are you?
18, just turned 18 in March.
What does it feel like to be 18?
Feels like the last 5 years of my life. I haven't aged in like 5 years.
What do you do for a living?
What I do for a living? I exist.
The
And
fuck?
I make a little bit of music on the side.
And how did that start?
I wanted to be a professional Fortnite player at first, and then I got copyright strikes. I lost all my money. I told my mom about it, and she was like, make your own music. Next day, happened to my sister's closet with my iPhone and some earbuds, made my first song called Runaway. After that, my Fortnite peers started posting in their montages, getting some notoriety in the Fortnite community, and it took off.
Did you make music before?
Nah, not ever. You gotta be selfish. As much as selflessness is required to be a good person, you really got to be selfish. You
He
can't
always
care about
got
anybody
something
else.
on his
You know,
forehead.
just start caring about
Why?
you. Then you can care about other
He got a
people.
band-aid and
I
then he
say
has
stay
the
selfish.
stars.
He would incorporate his Atami character into his music, into his visuals, and would eventually catch his
See,
big
right there,
break
too.
with his 2022
Oh, he doesn't have one there.
viral hit, Romantic Homicide. The music video would be based off his Atami character, and it would ironically released on September 7th.
It's always a Band-Aid or
Celeste's birthday.
something.
Don't forget that 2022, the year that David caught his big break, is the same year prosecutors believe he actually
That
met
is
Celeste.
insane.
Now, imagine what this sudden stardom does to a child who claims he was isolated and chronically online for most of his teenage years. He now has the world by his fingertips, the ability to travel, make money via his music, make connections just off the strength of his artistry, very few people to answer to or say no to. This 17-year-old
Big
who
forehead
had spent
complex,
most of his
that's
teenage
toxic.
years alone,
He deserves that,
online,
though.
addicted to gore, creating violent characters of himself, now had access to all this money, power, control, and no one to answer to.
That is, I don't know.
In fact, it was his mother, the same individual who tried to shelter David, to influence him in a positive way. She was the one who indirectly inspired David to release his breakout single, Romantic Homicide. David states that it was her utter disgust of the subject matter within that song, talking about killing off a love interest, that would prompt him to release it, because he knew if it was something that disgusted her, the general public would probably be so enthralled by the shock value that they would completely eat it up.
Like when I used to get up and get dressed for school in the morning, I put on this cool fit. She would like, take that off, put on a suit or something like that, you know? I knew it was cool if she hated it. I played it for her in the car, and she was like, David, this song is too violent. You're talking about killing people in your music? No, not my son. And I was like, wait, I might be onto something, bro. So I dropped it right after that. And it went crazy. TikTok, viral, 1 million views overnight. I was like, oh yeah, we cooking, boy. We cooking, boy. So right at that moment, I was like, my mom has done it again. Because if she said, oh, because I was already skeptical about the song when I made it. Like, I was like, okay, maybe it's just too dark, I don't know what I'm doing. I held on to it for a minute until I decided to play it for my mom, and she hated it, and that was my cue. That was the you go do it. So after that, it was just like, it was history, man.
Now let's fast forward a couple years. Prosecutors believe David started abusing Celeste in September of 2023, about a year and a half after they actually met online. By February of 2024, her parents would report her as a missing person, and because she had allegedly been texting David, LAPD would show up at his house around this time period asking if David knew about her whereabouts. They would even find a yearbook picture of Celeste on David's phone, and this is what I find most disturbing, because if you look for Celeste's yearbook photos online, you get pictures like this. Just by these pictures alone, you should know that as a 16, 17, maybe now even 18-year-old individual, you should have no business being friends with, or even worse,
literally a baby.
abusing a person who looks this young and who was this young. So knowing David may have had these pictures on his phone, even if he did not
I'm so
know her
disgusted.
age at the time, which is what he allegedly told the LAPD when they did a wellness check at his house, seeing that she looked this young in physical appearance should have been more than enough to keep an 18-year-old far, far away from her. And it gets even worse when we dig into what David was reposting onto TikTok during this time period. This is a scene from the movie American Psycho, where this character, who was a serial killer, lures a woman into his home and takes her life. The caption of this TikTok is, "Me after hearing about her past with other boys. I'm jealous and utterly disgusted by her actions." He also posted this about a month before the LAPD would come to his house to do a wellness check because Celeste was a missing person. And it said, "Was I too controlling, or did I just want to be respected? Was I too controlling, or did I just ask for reassurance? Did I just care about you? Was I just concerned for your safety? Is it because I loved too hard, or were you just out late drunk, or I didn't want to hurt, or did I not want to get cheated on you again? Just because I care about you doesn't make me controlling." Now, it's just interesting to look at stuff like this when we know David's past, when we know that for a long time he was observing other people's relationships without having any of his own, without understanding how human connection fully works. But now, again, he's shot into superstardom seemingly overnight. It makes it a lot easier for him to have the ability to be this controlling and for no one to stop him. These reposts would only get more disturbing, like this one, me watching her scream. After I poured boiling water on her after she told a boy happy birthday because why you happy that he made it another year? Or this one, me after running over every guy who's ever looked at her. Sitting there realizing I'm a really bad person sometimes.
Is this my mouse?
Even though I genuinely love with all my heart, there's a really bad part of me that ruins everything. How life feels when you aren't dating a lying HOE. My biggest fear in a relationship is them having to see me in an episode where I can't help them right away, when I'm too depressed to get out of bed, when I start getting mad at everything, when I'm just not acting like the version of me that they know. So from a lot of these reposts, you can already see David had some insecurities about who he was, a part of himself that he was hiding from his loved ones, a darker side, very intense issues of jealousy. And worst of all, violent thoughts if he couldn't control the women he loved. And as you dig deeper into the content he was reposting on TikTok, it becomes more apparent that David most definitely had control issues, or at least tried to portray himself as having control issues.
What the fuck,
This is a list he
dude?
reposted of things he considers to be cheating in a relationship. If his romantic interest would complain to him
Leaning
about another
messages,
person, if they would seek relationships with someone they find attractive, being touchy with someone else. I'm not going to go through the whole list, and if you were just looking at this at face value, you might think, all right, maybe this individual is a little bit overly protective, but a lot of these things are generally standard for what you would expect from your partner in a relationship. But when you combine this with all the more violent content he would repost about what could potentially happen if he catches his significant other cheating, or if she uncovers the darker side of him, at that point it paints a much more sinister story. And when you look at the repost that came allegedly from Celeste's TikTok account, it also presents some content that may raise some eyebrows now that we know the dark fate that her interactions with David left her with. Now, I want to emphasize this is alleged. It comes from a Redditor who claims to have compiled all of Celeste's old TikTok reposts. And as you can see, you have stuff like this, where it says, POV, my mom after watching crime documentaries or the news. Anybody else's parent? Hashtag worried parent. So in 2024 here, she's reposting stuff about parents who were overly worried. Now, similar to the repost we saw from David, Celeste would also post TikToks about the violent measures that jealous partners would go through in relationships. This one to me is the saddest of all, where it says, try not to cry going home after being with the love of my life. This TikTok was originally posted in January of 2024, and we know that over the next couple months after this TikTok was posted, Celeste would run away from her home several times to live with and travel with this man 5-6 years older than her, who convinced this child that they were in a relationship together. This one was also incredibly sad. She reposted, "When my card declines at therapy, so they bring out old pictures of when our family was actually a family." Now this one is interesting because around the same time, David would actually post a TikTok on his own account that said, "When my card declines in therapy and they bring in that one Hello Kitty girl I met back in 2021.
At therapy and they bring in that one Hello Kitty girl you met in 20. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Many people believe that this was in reference to Celeste because both of them shared a love for Hello Kitty. But beyond this, the TikTok that Celeste reposted was quite sad for the reason that we know she likely did not have the best relationship with her family, especially closer to the end of her life. We know she was constantly running away, hiding the fact that she was with David from her parents. And there were a lot of mixed narratives on Celeste's relationship with her parents and who was really out there protecting her, making sure that she was safe. AKA, how did she end up living with and traveling with an 18, 19-year-old famous singer when she was just 13? Well, the owner of the house that David's management team was renting, the very same house that prosecutors believe David took Celeste's life in, that homeowner had actually hired a private investigator to get some more answers as to what really went down in the situation and who this alleged murderer was that was living in and renting out their house, right? And the private investigator, his name is Steve Fisher, he actually believes that several of Celeste's family members had actually been to that rental house that David was living in. That her family was well aware that the constant running away that Celeste was doing, it was to go and live with and be with David.
That pisses
And if
me
that's
off.
the case, you have to ask yourself, could the reason that David have conducted this horrible murder in the first place be because he knew not only how much manipulation and power he possessed over this child, but also how little the people around her, her family members, actually cared about her, to the point where he thought he can be so reckless with her remains to just leave them in a car that belonged to him on the side of the road right next to his house. Maybe David knew about the turbulent relationship that Celeste had with her family, and that no one was really out there to keep her safe.
Do you think the family is as quiet as they are because they knew who David was and they knew who she was going to, and you don't really see too much of an intervention between them?
I mean, yes, I have proof that family members have been to that rental house before. Have been with David and Celeste.
That is so sad.
Has been to his house.
Family members.
That is
one of
so
the first things I
sad.
put down in this case was a build. We know that David and Celeste were at Six Flags on a certain date, and we found a Build-A-Bear certificate from the Build-A-Bear place in Six Flags in her cousin's name at the house. You know, so it's like, wait a minute, so she wasn't really missing. You know what? You want to know, in my opinion, what the missing persons report was about? It was to cover their ass so CPS didn't come in and say, "Hey, she's not going to school. What's up?" If she's a missing person, you say she's not going to the school because she's a missing person. You know, then you don't have CPS in your life at that moment. You know. Listen, I sympathize.
Wow.
I know that they are.
I did not even think of that. That is so fucking sad.
I know they lost a daughter, but goddamn, like she shouldn't have been allowed to be. She was gone a year and a half, man. A year and a half. Like, somebody should have said, you know, maybe we shouldn't be letting Celeste live her own life like this.
Now, it's also important to note that while Celeste's mother had allegedly done interviews with TMZ claiming that she knew Celeste had a boyfriend named David, while Celeste's brother had allegedly spoken to the press claiming that the last time he saw his sister was when David picked her up to quote-unquote go to a movie and she never returned, Celeste's father actually had a different story. He claims that he's never heard of a guy named David, never met a guy named David, knew nothing about the man who allegedly took his daughter's life.
There's really no question that Celeste Rivas Hernandez did not live the life of a typical 14-year-old girl before she was brutally
Why
killed
does he
and
look so
dismembered,
fake?
allegedly at the hands of adult boyfriend singer David. Celeste had been reported missing by her parents in February of 2024 and again in April. After the February report, Riverside County Sheriff deputies apparently found David's number in Celeste's phone records, and she returned home 2 days later. Now, Celeste's parents reportedly took her phone away after that February report, but apparently that didn't stop David from allegedly reaching out to this young girl, because prosecutors claim that David was able to get back in contact with her after allegedly paying one of her young classmates $1,000 to give her a cell phone that he purchased for her. And she vanished again, allegedly traveling on the road with David as a couple to Las Vegas and London, Texas, where his family lived. And Celeste's family has kept a
Holy
very low
shit.
profile ever since her decomposing body turned up in David's, or allegedly in David's Tesla back in September, understandably so. But after David was arrested, they made an appearance at this first court date, but decided not to speak to the public. Their silence has reportedly allowed rumors to spread throughout their hometown that David was giving the family funds. And Celeste's father addressed those rumors today, broke his silence. Jesus Rivera told TMZ through his attorney Patrick Steinfeld, quote, "I never had any contact with this guy, and we haven't received any money from him or anyone in his family."
If there's proof
Now,
that
beyond whether Celeste's family
don't know.
knew David, whether David's family knew Celeste, I want to dig a little bit deeper into the characters that David was creating for himself. A lot of David's earlier music was actually based off of stories that he would hear from his friends that he made online, from their experiences, the same way that when he was a kid in school, he would write stories and use his classmates and their personas as characters in the story. But as David got famous, as he got to travel the world, have real connections with real humans, he was able to start writing music from his own lens, his own perspective, his own lived experiences. And this is when he started segmenting his personality into even more personas, more characters.
I got me as the artist, David, D4vd, Itami, which is the antagonist. He was the blindfold. My gaming character is coming soon. He is like the one that's super tech savvy and stuff like that. And then my social media persona, which is also being built out as we speak. And that's the 4.
He constructed an entire identity architecture around himself with those 4 defined personas: David the artist, Itami the antagonist, a gaming persona, and a social media persona, none of which were David Anthony Burke. The actual self was not among them.
So
What
he didn't
researchers
even-
describe as
Yeah.
identity diffusion, where the boundary between constructed persona and authentic self becomes genuinely unclear, appears to be happening here. The masks were not overlaid on a stable self. They may have become the primary mode of self-experience.
So he didn't even know
David
who
from
he
early
was.
on learned how to switch between characters. In private, he could be this antisocial kid with dark fantasies. In interviews, he could sound smart and sophisticated. And on TikTok, he could do his best to be relatable and goofy to his audience. That ability to switch became something that we now potentially know might have helped him deal with the consequences of his future actions.
And this is what makes David's moves after prosecutors believe he took Celeste's life even more chilling. In a previous video, I went through the timeline. with you
Kinda,
guys,
he was
starting
very
from
lost.
The moment that prosecutors
He didn't
believed
know.
David
He
took
didn't even know
Celeste's
who
life,
he was.
all the way up to about.
If you have like 4 kind of personas like that, I don't know. You just don't know yourself. Essentially, it seems like to have that many personas, like I don't know. It's kind of sad.
A week and a half later, where they believe that he actually mutilated her remains. And then we took a look at what came after those remains were placed in David's trunk. And you can see that from the moment on April 23rd, 2025, that prosecutors believe he took Celeste's life, David goes on an entire press tour for an album that he dropped just 2 days after the date that they believe Celeste was murdered. He was doing interviews, he was active on social media, he
Well,
was doing
timing is
concert
insane.
performances, and aside from one slip-up where he broke down in tears during a live performance of a certain song, David seemed happier and more active than ever. He would then go on to embark on a whole world tour throughout the summer, while Celeste's remains were in his car. There was even a time where David was live streaming with friends, and they noticed a pungent smell in his house. Many people now believe that this was the smell of a decaying body in David's Tesla. But in the clip, you see David so nonchalantly play it off as if he had just went to the bathroom and that's what the smell was from.
Oh wait, you're looking at my pills for me. Can you put this in the bag too? Unless you don't mind. I have a lot of pills. Can you put yeah. You, bro. I'm looking at your packing it, bro. Go f yourself. I don't even get paid, guys. I'm not even getting paid for this bullshit, bro. This, bro. All y'all dead ass.
Oh. Now.
What? Isn't this that Neo guy? Neo? I don't know who this is, but this is like supposed to be his best friend, and they have been interrogating him too. But look at how he like. I don't know. I don't know if this is him, but like.
The fact that David was able to
That's him,
hide
right?
this secret so easily, was able to go on and work hours and hours every single day, traveling.
That has to be
nonstop,
him. I think
with
that is
something
him.
like this weighing on his
I
conscience.
could be wrong, though.
And he's playing it off like everything's fine. I definitely think it speaks volumes to how he segmented the different aspects of his identity and was able to flip them on and off like a light switch at any given time. The signs were here all along. The dark side of David that was displayed through his persona, Atami, in the music videos, in the reposts on TikTok, in the life stories that he would tell in his interviews, in the bloody t-shirts that he was selling on his website, in the tour props that he brought out at his live shows like the casket. This may have not just been an alter ego. These may have been the signs that there was a spirit inside David that would drive him to commit such a disgusting act. But simultaneously, he can mask it so well because, like he said in that interview clip I just played, he compartmentalized his personality to where he can turn on the persona of David the quote-unquote artist at the flick of a switch. David also never had relationships of his own when he grew up as a teenager. This might explain the control issues, the jealousy issues that he had. And as far as why he thought he could get away with such a disgusting crime if he was the one who truly murdered Celeste, well, look at how all the people around that young child neglected her, failed her, didn't give her the proper attention she deserved to keep her safe. She ran away multiple times from her home. She's seen spotted on live streams with David, at concerts with David, allegedly touring around the world with David. If David was able to get this child to the point where she can leave her home multiple times, travel hours and hours to his house, and then bring her across the world traveling as he's working on his music, and that didn't raise any eyebrows within Celeste's inner circle amongst her family members, then David probably thought there was no one out there fighting for this young girl hard enough to the point where they would even find her in the trunk of his Tesla. If she can run away all these times from her family's home and into his arms, he probably thought there's no way they would know where to look if she just never came back home. Now, as far as the motive David had for taking Celeste's life, prosecutors believe that they were arguing. Celeste was upset that David was talking to other girls, and she threatened to come forth and expose to the media, to the world, to police, that David had been engaging in S activities with a minor. And what's disturbing is that if this is really the case and, they were fighting back and forth, leading Celeste to threaten to expose David and then David eventually taking her life, it's insane to then go back and listen to a conversation allegedly between Celeste and David that was supposed to appear as an interlude on one of David's songs. In it, you can see Celeste allegedly pleading with David, asking why he doesn't hold her hand anymore, trying to apologize to him for what she did wrong, and make amends in this relationship that David completely manipulated this child into being in.
Oh, that's so
stupid
sad.
right now, but I've been so selfish and I can't stop thinking about you and what I did and how it's affecting everything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I tried. You're special, David. I got a question.
What's the question?
Why don't you hold my hands anymore?
Oh, here we go again, bro.
Nah, I'm so serious.
Bro,
I'm so serious.
All right, continue.
I haven't held your hand. Shoot.
Sorry.
You're
My
not
fault,
funny. I swear you're not funny.
I'm done.
Alright, let me think.
But I said a time.
It could have been yesterday. It could have been
yesterday. Wow, yeah. I'm glad you remember that. I'm glad.
Period.
Ew,
Thank you.
I hate when you say period, man. All right. I got a question for you now.
Okay.
Why do you think we met?
Have you ever heard of the
Because you're a
invisible
weirdo?
string theory?
Oh yeah.
Exactly that. So basically, we met because we were supposed to meet.
Okay.
And we're connected because we're supposed to be connected. It's kind of like that, I loved you before I existed and I love you even when I die.
Word.
Yes.
Word. Okay.
But yeah, it's weird, it's strange, it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So don't leave me.
No, you
Please.
got it.
Okay.
You got it.
All right. I love you. I love you. You're the one calling my phone.
You been there, been there, you been there.
Calling me.
Been there, you been there, you been there.
What the fuck is going on?
Been there, been there, been there.
Why are you calling me?
You been there, been there,
Call me. Say you're
been there.
sorry. I didn't want to go and change the narrative and say something completely different. You gotta figure whatever you got going on. Figure that out.
Baby. Baby. And then
Now, in that clip, you can hear vocals of someone singing, "You've been dead, you've been dead." All of it's deeply disturbing, and you can hear the manipulation in the conversation. This is a child apologizing to a grown adult for being selfish. I want to say allegedly, because we don't know 100% that this audio does come from Celeste and David. But speaking of manipulation, one of the most disturbing things I've seen surrounding this case was actually an interview with a criminal defense lawyer whose job, of course, is to defend criminals, right? Make sure that even if...
I don't know. We mentioned in the last video that we watched about this case, like, I don't know. To me, I don't know. I don't know. It's like... at that, I don't know. Is it weird for I don't even want to say it, but it's like, it doesn't sound like a child. That's why, like, those ones are confusing me, because it's like, it sounds like, I don't know, at least like a teenager or a young adult to me. But I don't know, because when I think of a kid, I think it's like a higher pitched voice. Like I don't know. Like, when I was like around that age, I sounded like a fucking a little boy. I sounded like the amount of times people thought I was a little boy. Playing online games with my shitty ass mic, yo. So that's why I'm like, to me, I know we had this discussion and everybody's like, well, yeah, the vocal ranges could be different. But I never heard a very adult, or at least late teenager, early, I don't know. I've never heard that range of voice. That is also true. Kids are a bit different. Yeah, that does not sound like a 14-year-old girl. Yeah, that's why that one kind of throws me off a little, because if you guys remember, there is two Celestes in this story. There is a grown Celeste, and there's this Celeste that died or got murdered. Allegedly. Let's say allegedly. But yeah. But there is two Celestes involved. So it may be the older one. I don't know. So it's not confirmed. So I don't know. But to me, it does not sound like a young kid.
If you did a crime, you don't end up getting
I don't
prison
know.
time.
I don't
They
know.
usually try to create reasonable doubt, right? They're not trying to prove that the client who committed the crime is innocent, but their main strategies just center around, attacking weak evidence, questioning the credibility of different witnesses, pointing out mistakes that police may have made throughout the investigation, challenging how the evidence was actually collected. Was it collected in a legal manner, right? They might try and provide, an alternative explanation for why the evidence looks the way it is, why these series of events actually happened. They might try to spin the whole narrative. They might try to show there was no clear motive or timeline behind, the crime taking place. And most importantly, they're going to remind the jury that Thinking the defendant is quote unquote like probably guilty is not enough. You need to be 100% certain or else they walk away.
Yeah.
So you got this criminal defense lawyer who's really ultimately probably just trying to promote his services. Maybe he's even hoping that, David's legal team sees this video and like tries to recruit him on the defense team. But just the timing of this entire thing, the fact that, a child lost their life, and you're here smiling, trying to spin the whole narrative to make David seem like the victim, even if it is for the sake of just, a hypothetical, or to show the world how his defense team can actually potentially win the case. Something about it is just really gross. I'm going to show you guys what I mean, but let me know as you watch it if you think that, based off everything we've just reviewed in this video, and looking at how he would kind of spin the narrative on all the evidence the prosecutors have already presented, does it look like with his defense strategy that David can actually walk away scot-free?
What is an advantage and disadvantage that is in this case that you see, besides you?
The advantage is that it looks like this was done in California, which is a crime, not California, but LA, right?
Oopsies.
It's a high crime area. And there's other reasons
the wrong button.
That caused the death of this girl, other than him. That's why I see an advantage of, and she's motivated, to go after him. The other thing, the disadvantages that I see in this case is that he never called me. If he would have called me or his family would have reached out to me, I'll take that case. David, if you're listening, I'll take your case for free. Huh?
Yeah, that is
If you reach
not.
out to my office, J.O. Law Firm, I will take your case for free.
That is people like this are so disgusting. I hate opportunistic people. I just cannot. I hate it. 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 I think that is absolutely disgusting. The fact that you're like over here, I'll offer it for free. Fuck you. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. You're so disgusting. A literal baby fucking died. And you're so fucking weird. You're so fucking weird for that.
Don't forget that, and it's recorded.
Okay, what is the disadvantage besides you? What is the disadvantage besides you?
That's it. Because anytime any charges come, there's no factual disadvantage. Dude, look at me. My client looked at the camera in my last trial, okay? He looked at the camera and shot him 3 times. 3 times, all right? And I was able to get his ass probation. He'll be done in 5 years.
That is
It's the most
not
unbeatable
a
cases that I look
fucking
at.
flex,
and
dude.
so when I see David shit,
This is not a flex. This is not a fucking flex.
it looks like a really good
Oh
challenge.
my god.
And it's gonna make me feel really good if I can get him a good outcome.
I mean, before we go,
I'm sorry. But I do feel for like lawyers who have to present nasty ass people because yes, essentially it is their job and they are able to have a lawyer present. And it's very unfortunate, but like to want to flex that you got this dude on fight for 5 years. And from what it sounds like for maybe possibly murdering someone, that is not a flex. I'm so fucking sorry.
deeper
That's
into
disgusting.
this guy's real kind of explanation for how he would defend David.
I
I
hate
just want
people.
you guys to see, like, he's wearing, a shirt that promotes his own law firm. He's stating that the reason why
Fucking loser.
David's case could look good is because he has the possibility of hiring this guy. He's obviously trying to promote his brand, right? He's smiling at the camera.
Loser.
Like, we're dealing with a situation
Loser.
where a 14-year-old
Loser.
child lost their life. And I know this guy's not attached to this case, but for him to approach it like this already is
Fucking
it's just kind
loser.
of insane, right?
I don't
So
care.
His main argument
Loser.
is that, this took place in California. It could have been anyone that, took Celeste's life. David didn't have a motive for doing so. And instead, he was a victim of his own success. People just wanted things from him, right? Including Celeste. That's what this guy is saying. This guy is saying that it's possible that, there's evidence of David and Celeste having arguments via text messages, whatever the case is. All this can just be attributed to the fact that David was really successful and she just wanted something from him and he didn't want much to do with her.
I hate
Gideon
this.
goes on to question the guy and saying, like, how do you then explain all the explicit imagery that was found related to David, right? Like, they were saying that there's CSAM or CP, if you guys just look that up if you don't.
What's the other one? Can someone DM it? Don't put it in the chat, but Can someone DM what the first one is?
They were saying that there's CSAM or CP. If you guys just look that
CSAM?
up, if you don't know what that means, they were saying the prosecutors were saying
I'm not Googling it. I don't
that
want.
was on David's
no.
phone, right? Like, how do you defend something like
I
that?
ain't trying to Google that
listen to
shit.
what the guy has to say.
You're gonna try to paint it as him being a victim. Let's go with that. How are you going to convince a jury that a man who is sending explicit photos of himself and receiving explicit photos, because Celeste isn't the only minor. He was also talking to other minors who have started to come forward. So how are you going to spin this as him being the victim of all these minors coming to him and him not wanting any part of this?
I'm not gonna spin anything. What I'm gonna do is show the truth, okay? And that truth is that no matter what age anybody is susceptible.
They literally have 40 terabytes of evidence on him. Oh my god. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sending that to me. That is, yeah, okay. Anyways, like, I don't fucking know. This case pisses me off.
Or anybody can be an
This
aggressor,
and
right?
Epstein
You can
stuff.
be 9 years old, and if you find out there's a lick out there that you can take advantage of and you can get free stuff out of him and you can threaten him, then you do it. And it's a normal thing that humans do. Whenever they see an opportunity, they can see it. And there is an opportunity when it comes to David. Shit, I don't even know David personally. And I could see David, you know, as
The crazy part is that, like, I don't know whose chat it is. I'm assuming it's his chat, but a lot of them are like disagreeing and saying, "What the fuck?"
fucking lick right now. He has YouTube videos, he has music, he obviously has money. Anybody in that position would say, you know what? Let's do something to this guy. Let's make some shit up so we can get what we want.
You might be asking, then, what about the Uber that David called for Celeste? What about the medical examiner finding pieces of a blue inflatable pool in her remains during the autopsy, and a blue inflatable pool had been ordered to David's house around this same time? Well, this is this guy's answer for all that.
What about him ordering the Uber to his house, her being there, all of that? What's the play there?
Is that illegal to order an Uber for somebody?
For a
I don't
minor?
see that. It's illegal to like order an Uber for a child? I don't see that in the criminal code anywhere.
Technically speaking, yes, it could be. Wouldn't it? I say technically speaking like I know the fucking all this shit, but wouldn't that count as kidnapping? Assuming like she's not allowed to be over here, isn't that attempted kidnap? Because he's getting her over there somehow, in some ways. Like, maybe to us it's like, I don't know. That one's tricky. I feel like that one's a little bit tricky. Because that one's, I don't know. Yeah, it's not illegal to buy someone an Uber, but I think once it comes to kids, I think that's a different territory. It's a child. It's not an adult. It's not a child. I'm sorry. It's not an adult. It's a literal child that you are leading to your house. Which, on top of that, she's considered a missing person. So, I don't know. I believe he's a guest on the Black Dude stream. Okay. This guy above me. I don't know.
I don't see that. I've never seen that was illegal.
Yeah, he's
for
cooked.
anybody to do that. Like, so I don't see how that can be criminal in itself. I order Ubers for my cousins to go get picked up, you know, to be dropped off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
yeah, she's literally a minor, though. I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think you could still get charged with attempting to kidnap a child, and it wouldn't fall onto the Uber, I don't believe. There's so much technicalities with this one, because it's like, let's say for example, a sibling tries to lure out another sibling. I'm trying to give like an example. Okay. Let me see. It's weird because I'm thinking more of something I know that happened. So I'm trying to think of an example. It's like if it's not really looking in the eyes of someone like any of us like civilians. It's more looking in the law, like the eyes of the law. Because if you were an officer and you were to see someone luring out a child and you don't know their relation and you don't know the circumstances of that situation, people will consider that still kidnapping. Like there dude, I don't want to give so much information out, but there's a tricky situation where shit, I don't want to like fuck it. I'll just say it. So someone uh someone was trying. Okay. So let's just say a child was in a very rough part or like a rough home situation, right? And that child's older sibling is already like moved out, and she tries to get her little sister out of that situation by luring her out at like let's say like 10 p.m. and obviously, and she's with her boyfriend, okay? Boyfriend has gun. Older sister's there messaging her sister to come out. If you are looking at that in the eyes of the law, you are literally luring out a child. You're luring a child and you can be pressed for kidnapping. So there's like so much technicalities. Even if there's like a sister relationship there, she is not like legally allowed to lure that sister out without that parent's like knowledge, because it was without that parent's knowledge, and that parent didn't even know that that sister was in that state. I'm getting into a little bit. So it's weird. There's so many technicalities. So it's like the fact that he's saying, "Oh, it's not illegal to buy someone an Uber, but if you are luring a child out, that's a whole different thing." So I don't know. This is tough. This is tough because I don't know. There's so many weird things in the eye of the law that you have to watch out for when it comes to stuff like that. Like, sure, it's not illegal to buy someone an Uber, but what are your intentions with that? That is a child. That is a baby. That is a 13-year-old who does not have consent.
And I have family members, like just because he did that does not necessarily mean
Okay, so she threatened him. He orders the Uber, and now after that Uber, she's never seen again, and she's found in his Tesla. So what is the play? So what happened?
Hey, what state was this in?
California.
In LA?
Yeah.
You know, LA is a dangerous place. It is dangerous. It is. It is. Look, ladies and gentlemen, Los Angeles is a dangerous place. There's gangs everywhere. There's people to extort you everywhere. Her body or whatever has happened to her could have been done by somebody else other than David himself. It's just that because of the relationship, the friendship that they have, everybody's honing in on it. It's unfortunate for David. Anything could have happened to her. There are random people who get, pulled up on any day in LA, even if you're a girl.
So what about the blue? So the prosecutors are saying that so there wasn't going to be a mess. David
he
put her
ordered
body
2
in a
chainsaws.
blue inflatable pool to keep all the blood in there. And the fragments from the blue inflatable pool that David bought matched the fragments found on her body.
That could
It
be
would not hold out.
Because think about it. Not only is David a potential victim for any of the young girls.
I'm sorry, but like if your lawyer dressed up like this, like, I'm sorry, like for an interview specifically, like, are y'all gonna accept this guy as a lawyer? Like, I'm sorry, but like for an interview, you're like, I don't know.
But he could be a potential victim for anybody ancillary to that, right? So say, for example, he disrespected an up-and-coming rapper. They're going to want to put this murder on him, right? So let the prosecutors attack him instead of them attacking him personally. Because if you think about it, that is actually a good strategy. If I want to get after David because he disrespected me because he didn't buy me my soda, or he didn't get me a cheeseburger that I asked for, or he just looked at me wrong, or he said my song sucks because I sang for him, I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to get this dude. I'm gonna put his DNA, I'm gonna set some shit up, I'm gonna get that dead body, and I'll plan on him. So then therefore they can put all the state's power, all the prosecutor's power into trying to put him away. It's
Why
like
is he making up a
you're
whole
getting somebody else
scenario?
to do your dirty work for you. And that's a good possibility that could have happened to David. So that's what I think that could be a possibility for David as well. You know what I mean? Like, no, it could be anybody.
No, like I. So he orders the Uber, and then she
Allegedly.
It's from his account.
Allegedly, it's from his account. I can get your account. Give me your phone. I can do something to it. You know what I mean? Just because it's on your phone doesn't mean you're the one who did it.
Okay, the Uber is sent. It picks her up. It takes her over there, and then also, so how did they
I don't
get
like this
access
guy.
to his car? How is her body found in his car? And then they also have video evidence of him being the last person to leave the car before it was impounded. So he didn't smell her in there?
You can give somebody else access to the car. Just because it's your car doesn't mean like you're the only one who has sole.
So the kind of scary part of this entire trial is that, like I mentioned before, a defense attorney's job is not to prove to the jury that their client is innocent per se. It's more so to make sure that the jury
I hate that guy.
doesn't think with 100% certainty that they're guilty. If there's even a 1.1% chance that
I
they
hate
think
him.
David
I don't like
could
him.
be innocent, then it's kind of like
I hate
Django.
David too.
Like the entire
Hate's a very
kind
strong
of
word.
foundation of this case crumbles. That's why in the clips we saw, this criminal defense lawyer was kind of jumping through hoops trying to find any excuse in the book to not make it seem like it was David's fault, that all of these things aligned to make David the prime suspect in this case. And that to me is the saddest part. This child was failed by everyone around her. And for
Literally.
there to be a possibility that she
I'm so sorry. Like, I will stand by this. I think her family should also be held accountable. This is just my opinion. I just cannot fathom letting my child have this much freedom like that at this young age. Like, obviously, there's going to be rebellious stage. I get that. But the moment I fucking find your ass, I'm dragging you by the fucking hair back home. What? Like, I'm sorry, but like, and the fact that family knew who she was with, there's no excuse. I'm sorry. There's no fucking excuse. And the fact that none of them were like, oh, the dad saying, oh, I didn't even know who this guy was. And then the mom saying, oh, yeah, I know she has a boyfriend named David. You don't check who your daughter's dating? Does that make sense? Like y'all would just let your kid date whoever the fuck? Like, you wouldn't want to meet who your kid's dating? At this age, especially? Like, and then the brother knew? Oh, Lord. Okay. Usa.
now does not get the justice she deserves just because the person who is believed to have taken her life has enough money and resources to hire lawyers who can do all these mental gymnastics
are
to convince a
disgusting.
jury that maybe he's not guilty. It's a sad reality to think of. at the same time, because David's personality was so segmented, right? He had all these different layers of his identity, all these different characters that represented different aspects of himself. That's another added layer that will make it harder for a jury to know for certain that he is 100% guilty. He's an incredibly hard person to read. I want to emphasize again that if they had not smelt a wretched smell coming from the front trunk of that man's Tesla, Celeste's parents may still think she's alive and a runaway. If there was just 0.1% more thought put into the disposal of Celeste's remains, sadly, because so few people were looking for her, protecting her from this monster, it's likely that no one would have ever known she was gone. And because socially David was so capable of putting on this front like nothing was wrong, not only would the world probably have never suspected that he'd be involved in a situation like this, but now that we do know, it'll make it even harder for the jury to get a proper read on if he was really the killer. Let's just hope that that child and her family get the justice they deserve.
Jeez, dude, I fucking hate that. I hate that. Oh my god, I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I cannot.